Plague Tale Innocence is one of the most fascinating and stunning games I have played this year. It stars a girl called Amicia who must look after her younger brother Hugo after their parents have been mysteriously killed by the Inquisition, and you've got to figure out why they did that and why they're after the boy Hugo. Beyond that, then, it is set during the 14th century France, which means it is the breakout of the Black Death or the Plague, and that's where one of the major gameplay and story elements come into it, which is the rats. And one of the big things about this game pre-release was the technology of the swarm of rats. They said that the developer said that you could have up to 8,000 rats on the screen at once, and it is visually impressive at times to see so many moving creatures on the screen. However, it doesn't always sort of gel well enough with the world. There are times when they sort of like glitch out a little bit, or them crawling all over each other doesn't look quite right. But that is a little nitpicky, because overall it is a great looking effect that adds to the gameplay, that it does work well enough and it's not overused. One of the biggest worries I had with this game was that they were going to sort of play way too much on the rat tech and it would get a bit boring. One of the best things about this game is its pacing. It mixes things up quite a bit. Well, more than you expect. And there's only a small section in the middle of the game that felt like it dragged on. Also, it doesn't just sort of work on the plague breaking out and sort of slowly building. It goes a lot further than you may expect without it feeling completely ridiculous. Even if the very end of the game may be a bit unusual, I still enjoyed it. It was a bit of a frustrating moment gameplay wise, but I still kind of enjoyed the culmination of everything and of how everything built up and twisted and turned. Like, to me, it is one of the best paced and best told stories I have played in a long time in a video game. Like, this is something that would make an excellent primetime series on something like HBO, I believe. I think the writing is done well enough. I think the voice acting, bar one character, is good. I wouldn't say anything's incredible, but the voice acting of Hugo, the young boy, is, to me, especially in the earlier moments of the game, is just very jarring and not really good. I know the character is supposed to be only about 5 years old, so you do sort of, I guess it's tough to write dialogue for a 5-year-old, especially during this time period, without it sounding too modern or completely vapid. But the actual delivery wasn't always on point, to me anyway. Sometimes it just didn't click or gel well with everyone else in the game. But beyond that, like, it's totally fine. It doesn't break the game in any way or diminish too much of it. But one of the other things about it, and like to me the high point of the entire game, is its soundtrack. It is one of the greatest soundtracks I've ever heard in any piece of entertainment. It builds the mood, it sets the scene, it ramps things up, it slows things down better than any dialogue, any visuals, any set changes. The music here sets the tone and carries everything through. No perfect. I've never played a game that music has drawn me in to fit so well into the story like this. Like, you think of games like Skyrim and you think of games like Halo, it's a soundtrack that are so iconic, and I do still believe that these are iconic soundtracks and potentially better compositions in some ways. But in the Plague Tale Innocent, it is the best fitting soundtrack for this story, this game, this setting, everything. It is magnificent. I cannot speak highly enough of this soundtrack. And as well, the visuals are stunning. Like, I played this is on Xbox One X, and I played the preview on PC, and it looks even better on PC. Like, this is a visually incredible game that is diverse. Like, you will go to many different areas that have completely different scenes. Like, you go from like a little farmyard area to forestry to dense towns to mountains to sort of empty sort of areas to really detailed interiors. This game really keeps things going and keeps things fresh throughout its runtime with its new areas, even how things change. I think one of the things that cannot be overstated or understated, or overstated actually, is how the color palette and the areas you visit really changes and helps with the pacing of the game. Like a lot of the areas or the levels or chapters won't start with an action moment, or it's not covered in rats and it's not super dark, or it always builds up to that. And it just does a great way of taking its time to set everything up in an incredible way. I just think this is one of the best surprises of the year. Like, I've been following it for a while now, and Asobo Studios have made some games in the past, but this is definitely their best, their most polished. Like I said, there's only a few small sort of downsides to it, but they are very small. Like, I think the rat mechanic, I won't go into it too much, but it expands as the game goes on, but maybe not to the extent that you could have expected. But it doesn't exactly feel like it's gets boring or overused in any way. It's pretty interesting. There's just sort of, they really build attention. They are the scary horror part. Like, there are moments when, so I haven't even mentioned this yet, but the rats will only come after you in the dark. They only stay in dark areas. So if there's light, you're safe. The thing is when you sort of hit that precipice onto the dark, you can see them very slowly inch towards you in a row, and it is quite when it happens the first couple of times, there is this sort of heart-stopping moment when it happens, and you just feel incredibly like scared and fragile. It's just done really well. I think, like I said, the swarm technology for the most part is pretty good. I think they're a bit too jittery, but maybe not too jittery. They are very jittery, but kind of adds to their frantic nature, I suppose, which sort of, it embodies what I guess the plague was. It spread so quickly and so far. But I think the story is really good. The story of the Daroons, of their history, of why they're looking for Hugo, to sort of the power of religion and belief, and it's really well told. I would love to see a TV show, a TV series, a 10-episode TV series even, on like a really high budget of something like this. It's just that well told and well acted, and just such an enjoyable game. I would say the game's about 8 to 10 hours long, and there's not a lot of reason to go back to it. There's no branching paths or everything. There's a surprising amount of stealth to the game though. Beyond the rats, there are the enemy humans, and you will spend a lot of your time going from area to area, sort of sneaking past them, or as you go on, you will get through a bunch of alchemy spells. So these alchemy spells will light fires or extinguish them. They will throw sort of a poisonous thing on the helmet of an enemy, so that he'll take off the helmet, so then you can take them out with a headshot with your sling. And there's many things you can do with rocks. You can throw them against loud objects to distract the enemy, or you can actually use your slingshot to hit them. The only thing is they can hear the slingshot if you're close enough to them, so you've got to be careful with that. And it does the job well enough. There's no moment where I felt like anything broke. There were times when the enemy would turn to walk away and then suddenly turn back, and then you're standing in the open and you get caught. And I died a few times from that, and that's a bit frustrating because it didn't feel like it was being like an unpredictable AI. It just felt like kind of like half broken in a weird way. But yeah, the stealth, everything is done well enough. There's never a moment of too much stealth. There are some action moments, there's some run sequences, and they're all done really well, and everything is paced so well. I think, like I've said that so many times already, this game is paced almost to perfection. And the weird thing is, I literally just said a moment ago that there's not much replay value, but I do want to go back to the game again because everything is so well done. So you're not going back for different moments or sort of branching paths or anything. There's some collectibles you would go back because the game was just so enjoyable to play. And I think it is one of the best games I've played this year for sure.
again if I have to.